Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we're talking about a fanfiction called Quirks, Miracles, Dragons, and Aliens. Details about this fanfiction will be in the description below. This is one of those multiverse chat room fanfictions. So basically, a phone appears out of nowhere for Izuku, Marinette, and Hiccup. Right? It appears out of nowhere. Hiccup is definitely surprised. It's like, what the hell is this, right? And because Izuku was in the middle of doing his homework, Marinette was sewing, and then Hiccup was sketching in the forest. And he has no idea what any of this is. None of them have any idea. So they take the first kind of moments of figuring out what's going on, getting to know each other, and then figuring out, because, based off like Hiccup, like what he's saying, he's like, that's an interesting name. They figure out very quickly there are definitely like in different time periods. Like obviously for Hiccup Viking period, Marinette being from like 2015 and 20 for whatever fuck, right, in the future for Izuku. So they all figure out like, oh, the chat, because the chat name is like Multiverse whatever, right? So they quickly figure out like, oh, this is actually true. And then, because Hiccup is the one to point it out, it's like, did the rest of you also get missions? And they did. They get little missions that they have to complete if they want the reward, right? And the reward was 2 golden apples. Can heal, like, whatever, right? And for Izuku, or for Hiccup, it was to punch Snotlout in the face. And they even talk about it, it's like, does he deserve it? What's God? Because they tell each other's like situation and how Snotlout is, and it's like he definitely deserves it. Make sure you do it extra hard. Blackmail him too, like whatever, right? Because Hiccup's seen as like the runt of like kind of the useless one in the village, and Izuku, his mission is to tell his mom and his mentor, who's Yagi, he's is to tell to tell both of them about the abuse that he's suffering from at school and by Katsuki. And Izuku, I mean, his first thing is that he wants to, like, it's not his fault, right? Because the school is like, okay, but getting him in trouble is like, because like it's not his fault. Like he's like whatever. Like he tries to rationalize it to not get him in trouble, but as he thinks about it more, it's like just because he's been led a certain way by a bunch of people, like yes, all the adults, like plenty of adults in his life failed him by not correcting him and saying this isn't okay. No, instead they encouraged it and did absolutely nothing. But that doesn't really matter. He still made those choices. He still made the active decision to do it. And, you know, the damning thing that made Izuku like kind of like agree to do it was like him thinking about like, would you like do this to like a victim, just like someone else, not him, just like some other victim, saying you should forgive your abuser? No, absolutely not. So why is it so different for himself? It's like, yes, plenty of adults failed him in both of your lives, but that doesn't excuse anything at all, right? Because at any point he could have taken a step back and realized, I shouldn't do this anymore, but he didn't. And Marinette's mission was to tell her mom about everything, right? Her being Ladybug, because at this point she's guardian, right? So it's been a little bit she's been guardian, and so her mission is to tell her mom about it. So she ends up telling her mom, and of course she's pissed off because it's like, what do you mean my 13-year-old daughter, who's 14 now, but 13 at the time, was given this big ass responsibility? She's a child. What is this? It's just like the only reason Sabine kind of was like, I can't kill Master because he doesn't even remember anything. And by the end of it, a fourth person is added to the chat. It's Eddie. And when they log in the next time, they're like, oh my god, new person. What is happening, right? And Eddie obviously he read through all of it, so he like asked because Hiccup's first one. It's like, oh, did you? It's like, oh, did it like the blackmail work? It's like, oh my god, new person. And apparently, like Eddie's like, yep, 36. Like apparently the only adult in this little group chat, and so this is where really the bonds start developing because like it's the only adult here, and they learn about Eddie because it's like I need to. Oh yeah, well because he needs distraction for Izuku because everything he's found out because like when he was telling his mom and um, Toshi about uh, the abuse, she had said it's like, oh, you're finally opening up about it, which is like, I'm sorry, you knew, like, and both in different like Izuku's shocked and Toshi and like, what the fuck, like, what you just knew, didn't say anything, but it turns out Hisashi, her husband, had got someone with like work to like basically bind her, so she couldn't say anything unless Izuku brought it up first, and this is where we learn he's like some sort of like supervillain, and he's completely unhinged. He's psychotic. Because his version of love is twisted, but it is basically he wanted Izuku to break. Like he knows, right? So everything that Izuku's going through. So he wants Izuku to like completely break and fall apart, and then he'll come in, just swoop in and play the savior, and with the end goal of basically keeping him to himself, right? So like just kind of stuff him in a room and never come in contact with the outside world other than him. And it's like a joy. What the so Izuku's like, I need instruction. Tell me about your life, Eddie. And he's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this to kids. But Marinette quickly kind of, Marinette Hiccup reminded was like, first off, this is what Izuku's dealing with. This is what we're dealing with, right? Gotta stop Supervillain from doing all this. Hiccup's like, I'm being attacked by dragons every night. So like, really, this is all traumatized. And it's just like, you all need therapy. And of course, Hiccup has no idea what that is. Like, Marinette can't really reveal to anyone what's going on. And at least Izuku is like probably the only one out of all of them who could be like, yeah, I should probably get some therapy. Like the other two, Hiccup doesn't know what that is. He's like, I don't know what that is. But so he ends up telling them everything. And by the end of it, it's like, wow, we're all extremely messed up. What's wrong with any of us? But before they kind of question further, he ends up logging offline. So they know something definitely happened, but different universe can't really do anything about it. So they are worried for him and hope that, like, he's okay. After Eddie kind of leaves, this is where, and then them hoping that he's better, this is where they have truly are able to bond more. Because before there's like briefly going over things like, oh, like what the situation was and missions. And now they're truly kind of bonding and figuring out deeper each other's situations, right? And how well they fit together. Because, Izuku finally tells them it opens about the situation at school and how everything, just happened and how he was convinced that he was like by other people, he was a burden to his mom. So he just never told her about it. That's why he didn't, he waited this long. And so, about the whole Katsuki telling him, like, you should take a swan dive off a roof. Wild. And Hiccup can relate to that because he's, born small, kind of the runt of the, I was gonna say litter, he's the only child, but still, runt. And he's basically an outcast from, like, day one, but he's an heir. So, of course, the people kind of hope, like, either his dad names someone else as chief or he just dies and then someone else can take his place. It's like, nice. And it really doesn't help that his dad, because he's really into dimensions, so sometimes they make a mess. And that it really doesn't help that his dad shows his displeasure of it publicly, like in front of everyone, to show like how disappointed he is. Really doesn't help. And when, they start asking questions, she's like, what? Like, because like he said, it's like, you're the run. It's like, are you like sick or something? It's like, oh, you're weak. Like, are you sick? No. So what, does your dad not train with you? It's like, well, he doesn't have time. So they immediately picked that apart of like, if he really wanted to and was complaining about it, he'd have time to train with you. And this is where like he'd make time to train with you. And so Izuku ends up sending like photos like him before and after uh the training little regiment they came up with, and the difference, over the course of like just a couple of months, it's like, yeah, that's when you put it like, someone who helps you along puts in the work. So the fact that your dad doesn't even want to like take the time to do that, but still kind of like expects it of you, it's like that's, a miracle can't happen. So while they're kind of bonding, we see the effects kind of taking place outside of it too, right? Snot kind of leaves Hiccup alone. Um, for All Might, he was talking to Nezu about getting everything together, and Hisashi Midoriya, fake name, of course it is. So there's not much they can do because it's like other than try and investigate further, but it's a fake name, so they can't really, where the hell is he? Who knows? But for Izuku's middle school, easily, so much overwhelming evidence, easily get everything shut down. And Nezu already took the liberty of getting him transferred to like some academy, so like he's completely fine. So he's like, so he's got everything in order for him. For Marinette, she's definitely a little bit lighter since she's told her mom, and like she has a group chat, like a support system under her where you know they know everything. So she's definitely felt a bit lighter and felt, it's not so much as heavy of a burden anymore. We kind of go to Eddie next, and this is where we see where when he got the phone, it was technically during the beginning of everything, right? He had just gotten, he just gotten Venom, and so he had just gotten him, and so then his door gets busted down, so he ends up dropping the phone, and so by the end of it, when all of it's kind of solved and everything, that's where he feels the phone. He's like, I thought I dropped this. So next time he joins the group chat is when he's seeing everything. It's after everything went down, and like it's now Izuku and Hiccup talking because Hiccup had sent a picture of Toothless, right? This is tied up, so his story's kind of just beginning, right? This is where he had just sent a picture of him tied up, and he's like, he's technically one of the deadliest ones, and I set him free. Why would you do that? What is wrong with you? She could have been killed. And Hiccup's like, I just saw myself in him, and like he couldn't do it. So this is when Eddie joins, and he's just like, what the fuck have I missed? What is going on? Hiccup ends up asking for some advice because obviously he's going to go to dragon training, and he doesn't want that. But his father keeps talking over him, doesn't really hear him out or anything, so he asks for some advice. And Eddie, kind of being the only adult in the group chat at this point, he says, okay, well, like, do you feel, ask the important question for, like, do you feel safe at home? Do you think he'd ever hurt you? No? Cool. So make sure you're alone, not in public when you're talking, and make sure that he cannot go anywhere. Make sure that he doesn't talk over you and to stand your ground, like, no matter what. And so when they do end up having the conversation, it's so, like, he says it, he's like, I can't kill a dragon. I did take down one, referring to this. It's like, but I couldn't even do it in the end. It's like, so I want to work in the forge. That way, like, I won't, like, and he kind of bitterly kind of throws in, because, he doesn't, I wouldn't say approve, but he is, like, a little disappointed. It's like, oh, you haven't taken up, killing dragons or anything. So he's like, so he sees the Hiccup's inventions as, like, toys, and, like, you're filling with them again. So he, like, kind of bitterly throws that in. It's like, it'll, keep me out of the way, and you won't have to deal with, like, my toys. After that, Venom gets his own little, like, username to, like, user 5's in chat. So Venom ends up getting his own little thing. He talked for a bit more. especially about Marinette situations. Like, can I eat a hawk moth? I mean, it's like I can find him, whatever. But they all kind of each do their own things, right? Marinette, it's one of those like classic little solved fics. Marinette gets accused by Lila and ends up being believed, right? And so Max is like, I'm 73% sure like she didn't even do that. Like, what are we talking about here? So it's very clear it's not like just completely one-sided at all. They're like, how could you? It's very obvious that like a good like some of them are like, what are we talking about? Marinette doing this to like, okay, no, right? Especially since I haven't left my house, right? I haven't left my house at all, and so Max and Kim are like very clearly like on her side, and like Alex and like clearly a couple of them up too. But Akuma ends up coming because she's like sick of arguing with Ollie. It's like, shut up. So, but she ends up resisting Akuma. She's like, and she ends up drawing like a boundary. She's like, look, I'm done. I don't care anymore. You can have these idiots. I don't care. I'm over the situation. Like, you can have them. But if you ever decide to like threaten, it's like, you ever threaten me again, it's not going to be pretty. And so the thing was recorded though of Marinette resisting and Akuma. Like the entire thing was recorded too, and so it was uploaded. And people were like, "Holy shit, we can resist an Akuma? Hell yeah!" And so Marinette's kind of like embarrassed of this online. She's like, "Oh my god." But Eddie kind of like the one to be like, "Well, isn't this a good thing? I mean, like now more people can know, like, you know, it's possible to resist Akuma. So that means more people gonna try. So possibly lead to less Akumas, right?" And I mean, she ends up saying in the video in the group chat too, and they're like, "That is makeup. What the fuck is?" It's like she's not, you know. I mean, they're like, "Wow, she's terrible at lying, but she's not bad at like trying to create like a dramatic scene. Like she's real good at that." Terrible liar though. While that's going on, Izuku has finally started at school where he meets Inasa because, of course, let's have another loud best friend and joining. And he truly doesn't even care either. Because I mean, like, you're gonna have to have a cover story. It's like, oh yeah, Court came in late and I trained really hard because if not, my body will just explode. I mean, like, it's not off, but you know. So he's like, that's cool. It's like, okay, it's great. He doesn't even really care all that much. Hiccup ends up helping with dragon training. Like he's not participating, but he's just watching from the side with like Gobbler. Like he's just kind of watching from the side. He doesn't really. He ends up recording, kind of sending video to the group chat. Max and Kim end up coming to Marinette. They kind of apologized briefly because they were kind of wrapped up in the whole Lila thing, but they were still pretty sure. Like, I don't think Marinette would have done any of that. But that was the thing that kind of sparked them to look into it and be like, what is happening with this entire situation? It's like, oh, she's lying. Cool. But I feel like it's something, just on like a side note, it's like something you would do anyway if it's like one of your friends is accusing the other. I was about to say, I mean, like, they don't really know Lila. How long is the girl there really? Like a day and a half for each of them because she leaves early and is like never there over the span of a couple months. But like, I feel like you do that anyway, you know? Is if one of your friends is accusing the other, it's like, okay, well, you're constantly accusing this person of doing that, but then you're also doing the same thing. It's like, I guess I'll just watch and look into it and then be like, oh, yep, inconsistencies. Cool. One of you is clearly, you know, it's like the one of you is clearly like lying. But so Max and Kim end up joining in on the whole thing. And this is where, you know, she was cashing in on one of the favors with Max because she wanted to put together like a whole basically document of like inventions throughout the years to send a group chat for Hiccup because he loves inventing and he's like, you know, just help you with some weird things going on. And obviously Max being like, no idea what this is for until he ends up getting a phone of his own. And it's like, oh boy. So he gets threatened a bit. It's like, you're telling anyone about this, we're gonna fight. So this is where he finally figured out, like, oh, okay, so this is why, you know. And Kim's also there. He doesn't get a phone, but he also kind of like recognizing like what's going on. He's like, Oh, so like they're kind of both into it. Max a bit more because he has his own phone. Like he has one of them, but they're a package deal. So while that's going on, after everything, Hiccup's ignoring. Well, I shouldn't say he's ignoring Gobber's words. He's just like taking into account of how deadly the night fear is, and decide to keep it in mind, but still go with tracking him down. Right. So following the plot, Marinette's working with Max to fix or to work on the dock. Um, and Izuku and Hinata are getting a great start to their friendship. And Eddie, oh boy, he's. I mean, he makes it. You know, he comes up with covers right because he can't exactly tell them. Yeah, I was added to a multiverse group chat, bunch of kids, and we talk about the burdens of heroes, and one of them with the village. Like, that sounds insane. So he just explains it in a way to her, being that, oh yeah, a bunch of kids, like, two of them are outcasts, and the other, which is Marinette, she's has like a real heavy burden she has to carry. And obviously she's like, kids, like, I was at accidentally to group chat. They're all from different countries, so and I mean, he's already kind of like, just Venom's the only one willing to admit it. Already pseudo adopted them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it's like, yes, our kids. I mean, basically. This is also where, like, because as they're working on Doc, Kim and Max end up going over to Marinette, and they kind of talk about the lot, because Kim's apologizing, oh yeah, sorry about that. Again, package deal between the two of them. And this is, where they end up talking about Lila. And Max is the one to bring up first, like, she could be a meta, because it's like, it's illogical for all of them, even some adults, to believe Lila and her, like, stupid claims, because they can look back on it now and be like, that was dumb. Why did I believe that? Like, a napkin could, like, gouge my eye out? What? It's like, all of them are, like, all of it is stupid. But none of them are dumb. And, like, he brings up points where it's like, Rose knows Prince Ali, and with, like, Chloe and Adrian, their connections to in the industry and, like, so different celebrities, like, why the hell do any of them believe her? And, like, again, some of the adults, it's like, you cannot be this dumb. And so it does kind of, like, make sense. Like, it's like, yeah, why would any of you just kind of drop your common sense to just suddenly believe her? So, it's not really proven, even though Kim's like, she used her powers on us. No, it's a theory. It's not really, like, set in stone. Izuku and Marinette get new missions, which is, how it ends up coming out to everyone, for Izuku anyway, right? Because Toshi is kind of looking at it, I was like, how do you know that name? As in Grand Tori. Oh my god, can I talk? Whatever. He's talking about how do you even know, like, his mentor's name. And this is where he has to, because the mission was get training from him. So this is where, like, he comes clean. It's like, please believe me about everything. And he does, because it's like, it's been a while that everything's kind of just happened, So, sure. And he tells it, like, the golden apple. So he does end up testing out the golden apple because they don't really know the limits on the apple or how effective it would be. Turns out real effective. I mean, it was painful, but it was, like, real effective. So he's completely healed. And Marinette her new mission was make an app, basically an accumulator, like in every kind of fanfiction ever, was they get an accumulator app to warn people of Akumas and gather information. Of course, that's what that's why Max ended up getting the phone in the first place, because he's there to help. And that is technically where this entire fic ends, because this is, like, it's not really, like, completed. It's like 5 chapters, so it's not really, like, completed or anything. But it is orphaned, which, if you don't know what that means in AO3, is the writer basically, like, it's still up, you can read it, but they disassociate with it, so they have nothing to do with it. They're not going to continue it or anything. So unless someone else decides to pick this up or do whatever, that is technically where it ends. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!